Shut up and sit down.
Hello, Phantoms fans. Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead.
And I'm Justin Irwin.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of the Dump and Chase podcast. Christmas is rapidly approaching, and we're bringing the holiday cheer. In this episode, we'll recap the past 2 weeks, hand out some fake awards, pick our all-time favorite Phantoms rosters, and one other surprise at the end of the episode. My name is Sam Olmstead, and with me as always is the jolliest a-hole this side of the nut house, Mr. Justin Irwin.
And it's good to be back.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a break last week. You a little bit of difficulty at your job, so we're working some 18-hour days or something like that there. So yeah, it's good to be back.
Yep. And Merry Christmas.
I really believe it when you say it. So yeah, as far as the games the Phantoms played the past couple weeks, we're not really going to go in depth on them. Games on December 6th and 7th with Team USA, the under-18 squad, December 13th and 14th with Madison. Phantoms lost all 4 of those games, one of those games in overtime, so out of a potential 8 points there, only 1 was picked up by the Phantoms. But yeah, December 6th was the last time the Phantoms were at the Covelli Center. They lost to Team USA 5-2. The next night, they traveled up to Plymouth, lost that game 3-2 in overtime. And then the Phantoms traveled to Madison December 13th, lost that game 3-2. And the next night on the 14th, lost 4-1.
Yeah, not a really a good 2 weeks. I would like to interject, though, that overtime loss, Colin Purcell, 52 saves.
Yeah.
Definitely stole a point for us out of that, and that was it for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, because those 4 games, the Phantoms never scored more than 2 goals in any of those. Offensive production is down. Obviously, with Trevor Kuntar off at the World Junior A Challenge, going to hurt a little bit. But yeah, you have guys on this team that can score. And that's something we're going to get into a little bit later on. But I guess the biggest story of those 4 games was the December 6th game with Team USA at the Covelli Center. Yeah, so basically we're just sitting there towards the end of the second period trying to, enjoy the game for what it was. Thanks to Aiden Gallagher. He checking, I believe it was Team USA's Hunter Strand up against the boards, and in the process knocking the glass loose right back into us. And Justin goes all Spider-Man reflex to keep the glass from falling on the rest of us. So definitely thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I myself like to not die. So I assume everyone around me likes to not die at a hockey game. So, yeah, I just kind of threw my hand out to push it back, and somehow I didn't break. It didn't break. It just kind of went sideways in the thing, and we all kind of caught it. Then John Larkin comes over. He found out that the glass is actually pretty heavy.
Yeah, what is it, like 5 foot by 8 foot, half-inch thick piece of plexiglass. It's not light. Maybe not incredibly heavy, but when it's shaped like that, yeah, it's extremely awkward to hold on to. So John Larkin definitely came over and made the save for us. Looking back on it, I think the thing that makes me laugh more than anything about it is, I don't know the exact count of how many panes of glass there are around the arena. All the locations, something like that could have happened. It just had to happen on the one pane of glass that so happens that 2 guys who do a fan podcast sit behind.
Yeah. So I'm sure that probably made Andrew really, really happy.
Yeah.
So
any other pane of glass in that arena, everybody has a good laugh about it, and that's the end of it. But no, it had to happen in front of the 2 guys who do the podcast, so we can milk this for all it's worth.
Yeah. I remember at one point in time, I'm sitting there, I'm literally holding the glass, yelling out at the refs, trying to get them to stop the play, going, "Oh my God, if somebody takes a shot, I'm gonna die."
Yeah, Justin's holding onto the glass. I reached around you to like kind of like grab a corner to try to do something to help. The play is still going on. The referee is like 2 feet in front of us with his back to us. We're screaming at him. And finally, it was the far linesman who finally blew the whistle. Because if you watch the video, the referee skated away and you could see the linesman point at the glass, and then you kind of saw the referee turn around as the camera panned away. So, I mean, the ref was standing right there and had no clue. And the play was still going on in our zone.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think at one point in time, if I would have let go of that glass, it probably would have fell on him.
Yeah, that just, I mean, the whole thing seemed like it took half an hour, where the whole story is about 15 seconds long.
Yeah.
But just standing there, being in that moment, it like everything going through your head, it felt like it took half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely in slow motion. And one thing I'd like to mention is, a stick tap to the Covelli staff and, the Phantom's office staff who were there within moments to make sure that everything was okay and to get the glass back in place. And again, John Larkin for coming over and taking the load off of us.
Yeah, we always sing the praises of Andrew and everything else, which are well deserved in their own right. I don't know where he was in that arena, but he was there pretty damn quick. At one point, he actually offered that he would allow me to go out on the ice and do a lap and see if I can make it all the way around before they fix the glass. I'm pretty sure I would have been arrested, and if anybody's seen the video or the pictures, I was wearing that goofy Santa hat that, looking back on it, was not a good decision. It's... I get to be on hockey TV. I'm on like these professional photographs that the Phantoms release on social media, and I have this god-awful Santa Claus hat that when I thought was a good idea, and then when I saw the video and those pictures realized no, it was not even remotely close to a good idea. And of all the nights for it to happen, it just happened to be the night I'm wearing that hat. So hopefully I would have been allowed to take the hat off when I was getting the mug shot after being arrested for running around on the ice, but luckily I didn't go out there, so we didn't have to figure out. But yeah, turning away from the lighthearted a little bit, unfortunately. Yeah, the 2 games with Team USA, the 2 games with Madison. Obviously, Trevor Kuntar is not there. Like I said, I mean, there are other guys on this team that could score. Just everything just seemed disjointed. You saw the team discipline, which actually had been getting better as of late. You really saw that kind of go downhill. I mean, Team USA, obviously, their game plan is to get under your skin, to knock you off your game plan. That's how they play their game, and for some reason, Youngstown just falls for it almost every single time. The games with Madison, the wheels just completely fell off. But yeah, I think in those type of situations, the role players on the team really need to ask themselves, what they need to be doing to step up, other than, taking trips to the penalty box, which is what seemed like a lot of them was doing, especially in Madison.
Yeah. Not to call anybody out here by name, but there were some guys that definitely stood out as really being more about taking an extra shot at somebody, or, I understand that they were frustrated. There was just really no effort to get into the game throughout most of it. It was just kind of do your own thing, and just 2 really bad games in Madison. The Team USA games, again, they were pretty undisciplined, but you called it out. That's the game plan against them, and sometimes you have to play their game.
But yeah, it's, and it's something these players are going to have to think about. Ben Schoen's coming back soon. It's there, roster moves are going to have to be made. And, some of these guys really need to ask themselves, what am I going to have to do to be able to stay on this team, other than, the only purpose you're serving is keeping the seat in the penalty box warm? Because, again, not naming any names, but that's something, especially for, a handful of players, it just seemed like that was their only job that week, this past weekend in Madison.
Yeah, and again, you nailed it. There will be roster spots up for grabs here. Schoen will be back. That will be at least be one. I'm not sure that at the time we got Merkelov, I think we were still over by at least one spot. That, that's somebody who's going to have to, at some point be released. So you can't really juggle these guys around on the affiliate list forever. So again, it's a couple of games where you could have stood out, said, hey, I want to be here. And nobody did that.
Last little bit of business from last weekend. If anybody had the chance to watch the games on Hockey TV or listen to the audio stream from the Madison Capitals, this was something I brought up earlier. This was something I brought up with you a few weeks ago when we were in Madison, and it was just in full force this past weekend. I don't know the guy's name. I could look it up, but I really don't want to. The play-by-play announcer for Madison, there were several times during the games I just took my earbuds out and just watched the video. I was not listening to the audio at all. I can understand, being an announcer for a team, being employed by that team. You want to show them in a good light. This guy just took it to an extreme, way too far, to a very, high level of unprofessionalism with the way he called those games. And just irritating to have to listen to.
Obviously biased. Everything was a penalty on us, and Madison, they were angels, and angels or higher than angels. Let's not forget Christian Stover is apparently the second coming.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the quote? You do the quote.
Yeah. For anybody that missed it, this was the guy. This was Christian Stover making a save on a breakaway. A spectacular save? No. He held his crease. He held his positioning. Took away the angle. Was it a spectacular save? No. But the quote was, "The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and today the Lord's name is Stover."
Amen.
Amen.
Oh boy, yeah. At that point, I had to delete the tweet that I was almost going to send out on that one. So
yeah, I didn't.
No, you didn't. But yours probably wasn't going to be as charged as mine.
And I've tweeted out about it in the past. I can't remember names completely offhand. The play-by-play guy for Muskegon, the play-by-play guy for Chicago, guy for Team USA. We don't like talking about the team, but they actually do have a pretty good play-by-play guy.
Yeah, Pete is definitely awesome. The league has a lot of really good play-by-play guys. There are some not so good ones, but for the most part, for a developmental league, they do pretty well, and move guys up very regularly. So,
if this guy wanted every penalty called for everything that he thought was a penalty, that game would have been 6 hours long. It's just every time a Madison player falls over, it's attempted murder. I can't believe this guy hasn't been suspended already. The hit just happened 3 seconds ago. I cannot believe he hasn't been suspended. Youngstown player goes down. He fell down. He fell down. Trying to get a call there. He's not going to get a call there. He made the comment. I believe it was the game on Saturday. He made the comment later in the game. They brought a line out with Riley Funk. I can't remember who else was out on the line. And he made the comment that the Phantoms are sending out, I guess, what they think is their best line. And it's is that really necessary? I know you're Madison's announcer, but is that really necessary to say something like that? Just completely unprofessional. Thankfully, we have no more trips to Madison. Madison comes to Youngstown in a couple weeks, 2 more games there, and after that, we're done with Madison for the rest of the season, period. So,
yeah.
Thankfully, we don't have to listen to him anymore, deal with him anymore for the rest of the season. And, and if you want to say this is just bitterness because we lost, no, we won 3 weeks ago, and I was saying the exact, we beat Madison 3 weeks ago in Madison, and I'm saying the exact same stuff now that I said 3 weeks ago when we won. So, no, it has nothing to do with bitterness.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've given him all the time. Well, actually, given him way more time than I think he deserves to be talked about. But so,
yeah, like I said, the league by the most part has way better than what you would think for an amateur league for play-by-play. So
yeah, you can understand. You can understand them. Having a bias towards their own team, but calling the game so that everybody can listen to it. Even our own Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Phantoms, is a very good example of that. When the Phantoms do something good, he gets excited about it. but he's not sitting there trash talking the other team all through, and if Flipsack did that, I would call him out for it too. Even though he's our announcer, I would call him out for it. So, but he doesn't do that. So it's something we don't have to worry about. It's, it's just ridiculous to me. You know what? We're moving on from this Joker. I'm done. Okay. So as promised, we're not quite to the midpoint of the season, but a lot of people do consider the holiday break the midpoint of the season. And, people like to do it with the NHL, the mid-season awards and everything like that. Now, obviously, we could do team MVP for this half of the season. Obviously, that'd be Trevor Kuntar. Right now, a lot of those answers would be really obvious. So we kind of went a different route with it and came up with our own awards. So this first one is what we call the Ian Moran Do Your Job Award. Now, if you don't follow, Ian Moran, former NHL player, former Pittsburgh Penguin, if you don't follow him on Twitter, shame on you. A lot of good content on there, a lot of good stuff. But the one thing he always talks about is, players doing their job, players, paying attention to the minutia of the game and working on the minutia of the game. And that's the only way as a player you become better. So in that spirit, we have the first annual winner of the Ian Moran Do Your Job Award, and that is...
And that will go to defenseman John Larkin. I guess mostly because he's the one who kind of came over and bailed us out with the glass.
Yeah, everybody skated the other direction. John Larkin came halfway across the ice to help us out. That aspect of it I want to point out.
Yeah. So, and I guess, he's doing a lot better. I think I was a little hard on him last year, but I think on the blog because... he wasn't really performing up to expectations. Definitely back on track this year. So doing his job. And I think it's fitting, Ian Moran was a forward for most of his career, but, when the chips are down, he also played defenseman. So I guess we'll give that one to a defenseman for doing his job.
Just a quick example, somebody on Twitter had asked, just kind of a general question, what's the scariest thing you ever heard? Ian Moran replied to it on Twitter, and his reply was, go out there and run the power play. So, it's just that kind of level stuff you get if you follow Ian Moran on Twitter. So I highly recommend that you do. Moving on to the next award. This is a very specific award for one very specific event, but we do have a winner for it, so that works out. And this award is the And That's Jenga award. And the winner is...
Trevor Kuntar for noticing that the Green Bay fans were stacking up beer cups on the boards and absolutely demolishing all their hard work. Which was, I think, more than the gamblers put out on the ice. Just joking. It was a pretty tight game.
Yeah.
They didn't score, so.
No. Yeah, not only did that happen, but to me, it was just hilarious that the USHL kind of jumped all over that on social media as well. They were more than happy to promote that happening, as much as the Phantoms were. That was actually pretty hilarious to see. So yeah, the And That's Jenga award goes to Trevor Kuntar, so congratulations there. The next award, and I had to kind of change this quote to bring it down to PG-13 because it's not the actual quote, but this is the Mike Tyson I'm Gonna Make You Love Me award, and the winner of this award is...
Connor Milmock.
The former Phantom.
Yeah. Playing for the Austin Bruins and been putting up about a point a game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're giving him this award not for really what he did during the regular season, but for one fight he had in preseason in a game that was meaningless against a NAHL team. A scrimmage an all scrimmage, and him and this other player decide to drop the mitts. The other player makes a flying punch, straight out of a video game or something, and misses badly. Connor was throwing just absolute bombs on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best fights I've seen in the USHL or, higher levels in a few years. And it was in a preseason scrimmage against another league.
Yeah. Now, hopefully at this point in the video, you have already looped this like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
As we're talking about this, just loop it over and over again. Because, the ice is about an inch thick. Milamok basically pounded this kid 6 inches into the ice. So, we kind of joked about whatever excuse we could make up just to put that footage into the video aspect of the podcast again, whatever we could do to get that video back in again. So hopefully it's just been looping over and over this whole time.
Yeah.
So then this last award, this is the point where coming up with the names for these things, any creative juices I had going completely ran out. So no clever title for this one. This is the Goal of the Year so far award, and very obviously the winner of this award is
Arseny Smeknov, for his shootout deke, and just absolute beauty that, in my opinion, it should have been on Sports Center the next day, but oh well.
Yeah, so that was the first annual Dump and Chase podcast, Totally Fake Awards, and I think it went terribly, so let's move on.
All right. Great. Let's go to something else that will probably go equally as terrible.
We had talked a while ago about putting together like an all-time Phantoms roster. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary. This is actually their 11th season. But if you go by year number, then this is, 10-year anniversary of the Phantoms. We talked about putting together an all-time roster. Came to the point where I kind of thought, well, I've only been around, as far as a season ticket holder since 2016. Justin was there, 4 years, started 4 years before that. So what we thought we would do is we created 2 separate all-time teams. The first one will be from 2012 to 2015, which is the start of Justin's timeline. And then I came up with one for 2016 to the current time, as far as my timeline with the team. So, Justin, if you want to kick it off, who do you have for your, basically it's game 5 of the Clark Cup finals. What 6 players, do you want on the ice for the Phantoms?
Okay. So I guess we'll start off with the most blatantly obvious one that I cannot go without mentioning, and that would be Kyle Connor. Very obvious. I mean, the most talented player to come through Youngstown, period. So moving on, I'm going to go with Sam Annis. Smaller guy, but, one of those guys never really gave up on a play, scored quite a few goals, just really hard work. Third forward, I had to go back and forth, but kind of, want to get somebody who's going to work with the other 2 guys. There's a lot of players I could have mentioned. I might get in a little trouble for this. I'll go with Ryan Lomberg, a guy kind of with a checkered past, we'll say. Came over for a season after leaving the NCAA, kind of kicked out, put up pretty big numbers, did a lot of really hard work, a few scraps, kind of the power forward who isn't afraid to get physical. In fact, he scored a lot of goals pretty much running through people. So I guess on defense, that was a little bit harder for me. To me, defensemen who don't really stick out are the good ones. If you don't notice the defenseman, he's doing his job. You notice them when, the goal's going in the net and they're like, that's me. I had to go, you need a character guy. I think I'll go with Vas Calais. Good defenseman in his own right. What?
No, I was saying that was a good, I think that's a good pick.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, good defenseman in his own right. Maybe not the biggest standout on the blue line, but definitely a character guy, an energy guy. I saw him chip in quite a few really good goals, key goals at key times, that kind of guy. And yeah, when they skated around the boards at the end of the game, he's always the guy dancing. So you always need a guy like that. Then you kind of need a leadership type guy, somebody who can really anchor things down, stable guy, plays defense. I'm going to go with Matt Miller. Played quite a few years for us, a lot of games. just did his job. I think Ian Moran would be proud. In net, I had to kick it around, but it, pretty much always quickly really came back to Sean Romeo. Really a toss-up between him and Matt O'Connor, but I'd seen Romeo stand on his head in a couple of occasions, and, if I'm in a game, chips are on the table, and I needed somebody to stop a puck, I think it's definitely got to be him.
No, I think Romeo's a good pick. Moved on to Ohio State, had a pretty good 4 years there. I believe he's now with Cincinnati in the ECHL. So he's still out there playing. He's still moving up. So, but I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, and I should put an asterisk on that. A healthy Sean Romeo, some injury problems in his career. So
that's your roster. Like I said, mine more focuses on the 4 years I've been with the team. It's hard for me to, I could obviously say Kyle Connor, but as far as, comparing to the people I've seen in the past 4 years, compared to years before that, it would be a little tricky for me to do. So my all-time roster calls from the rosters of the past 4 seasons. And I'm going to start off with the forwards. Obviously, right off the bat, Brett Murray. Played with the Phantoms for about half a season, took off to Penn State, came back last season, started off a little slow, and then just went on an absolute goal-scoring tear. Ended up setting the Phantoms' single-season record for goals, beating out Sam Annis. But yeah, Brett Murray, big body, great on the power play, definitely right off the bat. My second pick at forward, Jack Malone. Spent 3 seasons with the Phantoms, his last season, last year. A very cerebral player, extremely high hockey IQ. Watching him on the ice, you never saw him out of position. You never saw him looking lost on the ice. Everything he did on the ice had a purpose to it. There was no waste at all in his game. It was just so much fun to watch him. And my final forward, coming from this year, still with the team this year, I should say, Trevor Kuntar. You brought it up on the last episode talking about Kyle Connor. Trevor Kuntar is just that person that can just absolutely take over a game. And, and especially this year, we've seen it a few times. The Phantoms look down and out, and, Trevor Kuntar almost single-handedly is able to, pull the team back into it. I mean, obviously not single-handedly, but yeah, just seems to be able to provide that spark when it's needed. I mean, as far as my forwards, those 3 picks, I mean, I feel pretty confident about those 3.
Yeah, and if anybody's seen the video of Trevor Kuntar from the World Junior A Challenge, he had an overtime goal against, I think it was the Czech Republic. Absolute gorgeous, split the defenseman. To me, that looked a little bit like Lemieux. Just blasts right through the middle.
Right, the Islanders or the North Stars or...
Yeah.
The 50 other times he did it.
Yeah, the ones that they put statues up of. So, yeah. Yeah, just absolute, domination there.
Yeah, so as far as defenseman, my first pick is... And this isn't the reason I picked him, but this was my very first season ticket pickup party. This was the first player I ever talked to. But the first spot I'm giving to former Phantom Alec Mahalik. Just unreal, second to none puck handling skills for a defenseman. When you watched him, you saw a lot of Chris Letang in his game.
The hair.
He was the point guard. The hair. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, when he was on the ice, he was the point guard. He was the guy bringing the puck up the ice. Every time he's out there, and never once in your head did you have a doubt that he wasn't going to get it to the other end. Just a smooth skater, unbelievable stick handling skills. It was just a ton of fun to watch that season. The other defensemen, how you talked about, somebody who's a leader, somebody, who can fill that role, but at the same time, play a very well-rounded defensive game. I gave that to Gianfranco Cassaro. Wow. He hasn't been around for a little bit, so I had to remember how to pronounce it again. Gianfranco Cassaro, just an all-around solid player, team leader, another guy just a lot of fun to watch. And then finally going to the goalie, I mean, this is an obvious one. There's no two ways around it. Ivan Kolbakov. Not only a great goalie that season, an absolute workhorse. That was, a 60-game season. He played 52 games that season. Just a total workhorse. The only one I actually brought up numbers for, but yeah, that one season, he was 30, 16, 4-1, a 1.93 goals against average, a 919 save percentage, but...
And weren't a couple of those games that he missed because he was suspended?
I think so.
For an obscene gesture?
Yes, yeah.
So...
Yep, yeah, I remember that now. Yes,
I mentioned every team needs a character guy. You have yours.
You look at the numbers and he was just, phenomenal all season, but he was also capable of whatever our blood pressure was during a game, he was capable of doubling it within a matter of seconds with some of his decision making, but it just seemed like more often than not, it ended up working out for him. Like maybe he knew a little bit more than we did, but yeah, it was, he was stroke inducing sometimes, but just, just an absolute workhorse that season.
And if you needed a guy to draw you an interference call, he was an artist.
Oh yeah. I don't want to call it flopping, but
no, yeah, he would get actual contact. But yeah, I was gonna say he put himself in great positions to have people run over him, and he made sure that when they ran over him, that he went down.
He went down in a flare. But yeah, so that's what we were able to come up with. So moving on here, wind down this episode. Obviously, the Phantoms are off this week with the holidays and everything. They will be back at it next weekend. They have 2 games in Chicago, December 28th and 29th. The Phantoms are running pretty even with Chicago, 1-1-1 against them on the season. And then Tuesday, December 31st, they will be at Muskegon, which so far in the season, we're 3-0 against Muskegon. Muskegon, a little bit of a downturn. Chicago, right now, number 1 in the Eastern Conference. And it's as much as you want to talk about the way the last couple weeks have gone, especially with Madison, it's something we've brought up before, is that the Phantoms have this tendency of playing down to lesser teams. The flip side of that is, the ability to play up to better teams, which we have done this season.
Yeah. I think you summed it up best. Just we're sick of making Madison look good.
Yeah. Madison is not that good of a team. It's just for some reason this year they have our number. You wish you had an explanation for it, but we don't. It's just when it boils down to it, Madison just has our number this year. They just seem to play better against us than they do against anybody else. But yeah, Chicago, we've run pretty even with this season. Muskegon, definitely on a downturn this season. They are in 7th place in the Eastern Conference. The season has not gone the way the past few have gone. So, we have that game New Year's Eve, December 31st. And then January 3rd, finally, the Phantoms will be back home for 2 games with Madison. And then after that, we're done with Madison for the year. We can move on with our lives. So what I haven't told Justin is I did a little snooping around, some buddies at the NSA, things like that. And turns out I found Justin's letter he wrote to Santa Claus.
Hey, wait, tampering with the mail is a federal offense, man.
Well, when it's written in crayon, they don't seem, when the address is written on there in crayon, it says Santa Claus the North Pole. They're not as stringent about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I got a hold of Justin's letter to Santa, and in the interest of transparency, we always want to be very open with all of you out there. So in the interest of transparency, I found his letter he wrote to Santa, a few things on this list that I thought I would share with everyone. First off, hypoallergenic car wax, and then in parentheses, for my head. So I guess, hey, hypoallergenic, at least you're, looking to take care of yourself there.
Yeah, well, need something for the buffering pad, the power buffer. Without something on there, man, it really tears you up.
So you go with the power buffer, you don't go by hand?
Yeah, I'm too lazy.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next thing on the list, a vinyl patch kit for, quote, inflatable items. I'm not sure I want an explanation for this one.
Okay, because you won't get one.
I won't say anything, I'm sure she's lovely. And then finally, round trip tickets to Tijuana, no questions asked. Is Kevin Stevens going on this trip with you?
Well, I only said round trip because I don't want it to seem too suspicious.
Okay. So we'll just leave that at that. So yeah, I just thought everybody would want to know what Justin asked Santa Claus for Christmas.
Well, just to be fully transparent with the audience, a little elf might have slipped me something pretty similar.
It was my wife, wasn't it?
No comment.
Yeah.
So let's see what we have on here.
I did not agree to this.
Okay. Alrighty. Remington manscaping kit. Whoa, I'm gonna need therapy to forget that one. Okay. Alright, moving on. A wheel of Capistrina goat cheese. Okay, well, I guess going organic in the new year. Okay. And okay, I really got to question this last entry. What do you need a 55-gallon tub of butter for?
Okay. In the interest of transparency, we came up with this idea last night. I was nice enough to tell Justin what I had written for his list. He did not extend the same courtesy to me, so this is the first time I'm hearing it. And I have absolutely no way to respond to any of it. I'm more 55 a gallon. Yeah, you know what? I'm working on a what was it down in Cincinnati? They had that statue that everybody called Big Butter Jesus. So in honor of Madison's play-by-play guy, I'm going to make a Big Butter Stover. I'm gonna carve the butter into a Big Butter Stover. With no forewarning of what my items were going to be and no prep whatsoever. That's the best I could come up with. So
I think that's pretty dang good.
Oh Lord. All right, let's get out of here. But yeah, that is going to wrap up our final episode of 2019. We will be back at the beginning of the year, taking the Christmas break off. So, but yeah, we will be back beginning of the year. Thank you everyone for listening. As always, if you are not subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to give us a Christmas present, how about, clicking that like button, dropping a comment below. That is what our self-esteem is completely built around. Go in the comments if you want to come up with your own all-times Phantoms roster. Jump in on it. Tell us what you think. If we got it wrong, what you would change, who you would have. Our social media links are in the description, and you can also check us out on OhioHockeyDigest.com. So, best holiday wishes to everyone, and a Happy New Year as well. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next year.
Feliz Navidad, and Happy Hanukkah.